Congratulations, beautiful.
Thanks, Helena. Big flirt.
Hi, and welcome to my super secret channel, Mind for Story. Today I'm going to talk about combinations in Chapter 3 of The Good Place. And I would like to take a moment to realize that when I put together my list of potential themes and I decided to include combinations, that it was kind of a bad move on my part. Fortunately, this episode actually contains a few explicit cases relevant to the idea of combinations, so I'm going to talk about that. But it also sort of gave me license to talk about almost anything. So I guess today I'm just never going to be off topic. I'm always going to be somehow on the topic of combinations. So I get to talk about whatever I want. A quick reminder, I spoil everything all the time. If you have not watched The Good Place entirely, the whole show, please go do that first. You can always come back if you really want to hear my voice. So to get things started, I wanted to think about sequential combinations for a minute. The building of taking one person's ideas or teachings and adding your own thoughts, or combining the thoughts from multiple different influences.
Aristotle was Plato's student, and Aristotle believed.
I had to include this clip because just like, one philosopher learned from another and who learned from somebody else, and you learn, and it builds, and this sort of idea of how one person's thoughts travels through all these different other people's minds and the different things they do with these thoughts, and how what they do with it impacts new people, and how it does expand so far beyond just that first person to say or do something. I think about all the different things different people had to do, people that I know and people that I don't know, for all the different influences that have impacted me and brought me to this moment in time in my life. And I just want to think about that for a moment and maybe sit with some feeling of gratitude toward all of those people, especially the people I don't even know the name of. I don't even know how the things you've done have impacted me in such wonderful ways. So thank you. Just generally, thank you.
Why don't I go with you? I would love to do my part to help the neighborhood, not to mention get a little bonding time with you, lady.
So a really interesting combination in this episode is Eleanor spending time with Tahani, and how their relationship is represented by this magical tree that was given as a housewarming gift by Tahani to Eleanor. So Eleanor responds in kind. She gives Tahani a gift of her own, which is this, lovely basket of pears.
I'm simply repaying your kind gift with a housewarming gift of my own.
But this gift of pears is a combination of, Eleanor's trying to one-up Tahani with gifts, because this is a plant you can eat. Some might say it's a better gift. But it's combined with a little bit of a lack of knowledge on Eleanor's part about other cultures. As Tahani brings up, pears can be symbolic of bad luck in Chinese culture, and her soulmate, Jianyu, she's been told is Chinese. We later find out he's Filipino, so he does not appreciate all of this assumption about him being Chinese. But I'm hesitant to say that that's on Tahani, because he's been not speaking in an effort to keep himself safe. And it was really Michael who misinformed her, and I'm pretty sure that's part of the torture. He did that on purpose. In this episode, we're given a glimpse into some of Eleanor's insecurity. And it starts with, we get a flashback to a boyfriend who decided he didn't like this local coffee shop owner's behaviors, and he says we shouldn't buy coffee from this person.
Also what we call in the coffee shop game a dog face. You're 3.
I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the reporter who put herself through this job interview to get, this footage. Because this sucks. This is awful. And she put herself through this in order to provide, a firsthand account to validate and support other people who have been harassed by him, and so that something could be done about this behavior. My hope for people who similarly have put themselves through hard things to try and make a difference, make a change, make things better for others, is that it actually did have an effect. This story clearly had an effect on Eleanor's boyfriend, even if it doesn't have an impact on her.
You're not better than me just because you won't support a guy who grabbed a boob once.
No.
This reporter did persuade some people to act differently in relation to what she has unveiled for them.
It's just a big neighborhood full of enormous mansions and people who love Tahani.
Now, the other half of this duo, Tahani, she seems very charmed. She has even a lovely name.
So Tahani means congratulations in Arabic, and Algermail means beautiful, so my full name altogether.
Congratulations, beautiful. She's had many sort of enviable careers that she's tried.
I was a model, a museum curator, it girl, and I was Baz Luhrmann's muse for a while.
And her diary has a foreword written by Malala and Kylie Minogue. As Eleanor says, it's not. She doesn't think that it's nice the way Tahani conducts herself, as though she's perfect in every way, like she's Mary Poppins or something. So she steals the diary, and that leads to the plant going up in flames. It's interesting how events came to this point where she's stealing Tahani's diary. It's because, on the one hand, there's a part of her that's threatened by Tahani as a person, because Tahani is, beautiful and smart and has, they all think has legitimately earned her way into the good place, and Eleanor has not. So Tahani's supposed to be better than Eleanor in every conceivable way. But Eleanor's also dealing with this other threat because she received a note saying, you're not supposed to be here. And her mind has put these two threats together. She has come to the conclusion that Tahani is the one writing these notes, and she wants a handwriting sample. That's why she stole this diary. That, and to find, proof of other terrible things Tahani is supposed to have done to make Eleanor feel less bad by comparison. When the diary stealing comes out with, conversation with Chidi says, Eleanor, no, you wrote the note yourself, thinking that it's similar to the magical plant and the shrimp flying through the air after her terrible behavior the first night. And Eleanor has this really big overacting, like, oh, I wrote myself the note.
I wrote myself the note.
Yeah, that. And I'm sitting here, I'm looking at, I don't think there is no way she actually believes that for a second. I feel like this is a, fake it till you make it overacting moment for Eleanor, because she's actually a really skeptical sort of a person. And if this note did indeed come from her, that would mean there's no threat, and that's a too good to be true scenario. So I think this is more like she's hoping that if she pretends hard enough to believe that the note is a byproduct of her own, the same thing that makes that plant burn for stealing, Tahani's diary, or everybody wearing those zigzag pajamas again. If she believes it and pretends to believe it, then that will make it so. I don't think she actually believes it, though. While we're on the topic of the note, I'm just going to go ahead and jump way to the end of the episode. The notes are coming from Gianni, who reveals that he's actually Jason Mendoza and that he shouldn't be in the good place either. But first, when Eleanor comes to meet him, he has a certain calm, quality to him. He's got a lot of gravitas. And then he says, "Don't worry," which is a line that pretty much always means you should be worried because something bad is definitely about to happen. But in that moment when he says it, there's, at least for me, there's a part that you just want to trust him for that split second. I've got to believe it's his composure. He seems like the calmest person in this entire neighborhood. I've got to admit, I would love to have this sort of energy. I know it's a facade for Jason, but to genuinely be this person, the person that makes others feel the way I know I felt when we first meet him and he's finally speaking. It's such a calming, reassuring, trustworthy sort of feeling that immediately gets ruined when he, continues to talk and starts revealing things about himself. But it's also sort of a catch-22 if this were to be my goal, because I think this is one of those things where if you are succeeding in being this person for people, this calm presence that reassures others, you don't get credit when you're doing it right, but everybody wants to call you out if you've messed it up. That's what I think this would be like. So with that in mind, I don't know what it costs a person day in and day out to maintain their calm and keep their composure in difficult situations, or even just in life these days. So my hope is really that, when I come across people in real life whose composure is, this beautiful, that is coming from a place of strength and confidence, because I know this can be a byproduct of hard things as well. It's not always coming from someplace good. But, so just knowing that I have no idea what it costs a person to be this calm for others, or maybe not for others, but to be this calm, I'm going to err on the side of being appreciative and trying not to push boundaries just because this person is calm, because they might actually turn out to be somebody who's on the brink of, I don't know, total destruction, the way it almost feels like Jason Mendoza, just Jason, is after he reveals himself to Eleanor. But back to being on topic, Eleanor and Tahani. Eleanor acknowledges that the combination of her and Tahani has made her worse, because it makes her insecure. Tahani is too perfect for Eleanor to be able to cope as she is. This leads to her, trying to return the diary, and in, returning it, she happens across Tahani being less than perfect. And it's when she sees Tahani sad, and there's a space for her to do something for Tahani, that it leads to something very different, as represented by the magical plant, flowering when she comes back to the house. One of the more explicit examples of combinations really revolves around Chidi in this episode. Michael has decided to take it upon himself to sort of try and match Chidi with a new hobby, something to fill his time.
This is the perfect hobby for you, Chidi. Cartography.
I'm imagining what it's like to be Chidi in this moment, and it feels, now I'm not Chidi, I'm very aware of how much I'm not Chidi, but to me this moment feels kind of like a little bit burdensome. Like, I know myself well, I don't need someone else choosing new hobbies for me, but now I feel like I have to try and mind their feelings while also telling them I don't want to do the things they've thought up to entertain me. But with the very first one, he has a diagnosable excuse, so I imagine there's some relief when the first bad idea that Michael offers me, is something that I have, like, a doctor's note for.
I have what doctors call directional insanity.
Alongside being presented these possible, new hobbies, We're seeing Janet being programmed with different sort of personality traits.
I'll have what true fervor. Fun fact, Columbus is in the bad place. It would look even better on my floor. Don't be a baby.
That Michael's trying out with her to try and make her somehow a better assistant. Now, both with Chidi and with Janet, and the sort of mixing and matching of, hobbies and personality traits, I was sort of thinking on, the idea of fit. Now, Chidi has, he's able to present various reasons for why things aren't a good fit for him. Janet has to just, respond to her programming, and we get to see why it's not working. Whereas Chidi doesn't even have to really try on any of these potential hobbies to decide that they're wrong for him. And in the end, both Janet is returned to her original sort of programming, and Chidi decides he is going to go back to working on the book he'd been writing when he was alive. When Chidi first tells Michael that he wants to go back to working on that book, and then Michael just sort of essentially says that the book was bad. But it's a big hit to Chidi. Like, that really takes him down in a way. And it brought me around to thinking about some things I've heard recently about self-complexity. I think I heard it on Instagram from, I think it was Brad Stulberg. I'll go ahead and link that too, and apologies if I said the wrong name. But this idea of self-complexity, as I understand it, or as it was explained to me, was that it's sort of like your personality, or in your life you have these sort of different buckets that make up your personality, parent, basketball player, student, business person, what have you. And having a variety of these sort of buckets really allows you to maintain a stronger sense of self, especially when something goes wrong within one of those sort of, those parts of your lives. But Chidi doesn't have that, because Chidi has put everything into this book. He's put it all into, learning about ethics and philosophy. And on the one hand, yes, that's dedication, but it also set him up for this really big fall. And I have to comment that maybe if he'd also had one or two other buckets, it would have made ethics less of just a maze of making right or wrong decisions for Chidi. And it could have been almost more like, instead of being stuck in a maze, almost like the maze is made of Legos and now he can build a new option. Like if he was really into, I don't know, if he was really into sailing somehow, I know he's not because of the directional insanity, but if he was really into sailing and that made him passionate about, cleaning up the oceans and getting rid of debris, and how he could have, done any number of things in that effort, but instead he's trying to live this very particular life that is built on trying to never make a wrong choice. So yeah, I'm seeing some new ways self-complexity could have helped Chidi in his life, but apparently he didn't learn about that concept in all of his many, many years of schooling, or he decided that that wasn't right for him. That was a choice that he decided to not go with. And now I'm coming around to my favorite combination in this episode, which is the combination of traits Chidi has and has shown and shared with Eleanor when he, knows who she is. She has trusted him with her secret. 2, he holds her accountable. He tells her when she's doing something wrong. And 3, he has not abandoned her even though she makes bad choices. And all of this together, these combined elements of Chidi as Eleanor knows him right now, are what provide the sense of safety for Eleanor so that she chooses to make herself emotionally vulnerable and tell Chidi that being around people she thinks are better than her makes her insecure. And that's so lovely, and it's the sort of gift I think everybody wants when they're choosing to, be the kind of person who maybe isn't the fun one or is sort of the buzzkill, the way I know I'm sure Chidi often was in his life. But after that moment, when Eleanor, becomes emotionally vulnerable with Chidi and shares this with him, it gives Chidi space to choose to do the same back. And he tells Eleanor about, how he's feeling with what, Michael said about his book. And Eleanor, with all of the candor she, always has, tells Chidi to be proud. And it's reaffirming to him, it's validating to him, and it's a moment wherein he becomes decisive, which is often a problem for him. He chooses to go against Michael's advice and to go back to this book that he loves, to work on this with Michael's assistance. After looking at the events of this episode, thinking about combinations, I'm really seeing good reasons to sort of choose to be intentional about the things I say and the things I do. Because the combination, one, I'm always going to be a combination of influence to people that are around me and to people who don't even know me but maybe know the people who know me. It's much more complicated than just me. So I want to be aware of what I'm putting out into the world. And to also, again, just going back to what I said earlier, being grateful to all of the combinations of influences that I've benefited from throughout my life. And yeah, I think that's where I'm going to stop, because I could go on forever. Combinations gives me free reign. So you tell me what you think of which combinations I should have included and did not. Tell me off in the comments. I'm looking forward to hearing it, and have a good day.
So I'm afraid I'm going to have to throw these in the garbage, but do come and sit down.